Hello, this is Davi speaking. Welcome. My brothers, more and more people every day are becoming convinced that our country is under a curse. And there are several reasons for this. In fact, terrible things are happening right now. Very strong winds in Rio Grande do Sul, even causing a tornado. Now it's happening in Rio de Janeiro too, where the winds are reaching 100 kilometers per hour, knocking down walls, uprooting trees. It's tough, my brothers, it's tough. And besides that, there's also the way people behave. A few days ago, a Luciferian temple was inaugurated in Ceara, just like there is already one in Rio Grande do Sul. Now, in Ceara as well, there's a large statue of Lucifer. It was widely celebrated by Satan worshippers. I actually want to watch this with you. This is the moment of the inauguration. Watch it here with me.
Today we are here to inaugurate the largest statue of the devil in the world.
It's being inaugurated. The largest statue of the devil in the world is being inaugurated.
Yes, we are inaugurating the largest statue of the devil in the world. Music.
Long live the state!
Good evening.
Inaugurated at the
struggle.
Yeah, devil's inauguration in the world.
Then you see, right? Woman, girl, it's all the same, right? Being dedicated to these forces. These forces, my brothers, any research you do, you know very well what they end up demanding in the end. Blood and sacrifice. The Bible tells us that he was a murderer from the beginning. Então, it's not about distinguishing between religion A or B. It's simply following the doctrine. That's exactly what the courts, for example, should be looking at. Look, the guy is saying, let's say, I don't know, that a Super Saiyan exists. He creates a sect out of it. Super Saiyans exist. But what are the practices that this belief that's being spread leads people to do? No, people are going to dress up as Goku. People are going to, I don't know, play around, fire off Kamehamehas. That's what this Super Saiyan cult is causing. That's not a crime, so it's fine. But if you have another one that involves sacrifices, including human ones. But I don't preach like that. You don't preach like that. But what you're spreading, the idea you're conveying about these satanic forces, when the person does their own research, they're going to find it. When a person becomes devoted to being like that, because this happens in every area, the student always wants to surpass their master. So, you're there as the master, you're there, right, as the prince, the pope of that entity, and then someone else will come and say, I have more power than you. And when that person starts to research, they will find, yes, the origin of all this, which has always existed. There's no way to deny it. These are historical facts. Sacrifices to Moloch, other entities. Egypt had a lot of that. So you can't deny it, right? And then we can't fight this the way we should because our courts treat this as racism, just so you know. It's something you're born with, right? No one chooses the color they're born with or anything like that compared to something else that you hear, learn, and follow. They did the equivalent. Why? To shut down the debates. What you see the most today? I'll put more clips here, just so you can get an idea. Look, and then we'll continue from here. Listen to this.
And so in the state of Ceara, it will be the site of the construction of the largest image of the devil in the world. Praise be to the devil.
The image of our Lord, my God Zeku, which Mother Queen of Darkness ordered to be made for you. The image of our Lord, Satan. You all should also pay attention to the size of the image of Lord Lucifer. Folks.
Look, You can see this person seems to do this just to provoke, right? They know the country is mostly Christian. They know this is the opposite of what we preach, and it leads to practices that sooner or later will clash with our constitution, our law. But we can't debate. In fact, as I was saying, I want to send a message to Tiago Lima, to Marcio da Alem da Nuvem, among others, right, who are here. I want to debate with these guys here. Guys, don't fall for this. Don't debate with these people, because the idea is to criminalize and discredit you. If you want to debate with these guys here, I will debate with anyone. Anyone is invited to debate with me. But we will do this in person in Paraguay. We can do this in person in Argentina, in the United States, in one of these countries. That's ideal. I'll debate anyone, even all of them at once. Because there I'll use the terms I need to use and that they deserve to hear, and I'll explain exactly what this doctrine of theirs leads a person to practice. I can, as I've done in other videos, show, criminal statistics from various countries, including the United States, about what the encouragement of this type of entity has generated with, technical data based on barbaric crimes, with child sacrifices and hearts being ripped out, among other things. So, why not in Brazil, Davi? You wouldn't have this debate, because in Brazil, any argument you use, right? You have the wizard, I think his name is Malagueta, who's going to every debate. People love confusion, they love mockery. So this guy is going because he can be unpleasant, he can attack your beliefs, right? I saw Tiago Lima, for example, he went to debate with an atheist, right? And the guy was offending Christ, right? He was being a jerk, saying it right to his face. But he wouldn't say that about a candomblé entity, because if he did, he'd leave in handcuffs. The law in Brazil prohibits debate. That was the idea. They created that equivalence precisely for that, so that we can't debate anymore. For those of you who still haven't understood, pay close attention. It's the same thing if you try to debate with these people. Anything negative you have to say is like us making a video here and saying, for example, me being from the Northeast, that people born in the Northeast are no good. Does something like that even make sense? It would be unacceptable. For me to start making videos here and start saying that a black person is worse than me, that doesn't exist. So, in fact, the law needs to protect. But then they're equating things that have nothing to do with each other. One thing is a person who is born in a certain place, they don't choose that. One thing is a person who is born with a certain skin color, they don't choose that. And you want to, right, without any proof, without anything, say that this person is inferior. So the law exists and was created exactly for that. But then they twisted everything and added unrelated things, which are choices, I repeat. Yeah. And then, knowing that, what does this person do? They make this provocation in a country they know is Christian, that is Christian, will take this to heart. They'll speak in the heat of the moment. And what does this person do? Depending on who says it, if they see it's someone with money, they sue and make good money from it. Or else they put that person in jail. So look at what this person says here. Hey, listen.
The case went viral on all platforms and all the pages are reporting on the subject. In fact, people who admire my work have been sending me videos where cases of religious intolerance are clearly shown. Guys, I really appreciate those of you who admire my work, but I don't discuss religion. Do you know why? Because my religion teaches me to respect all beliefs that are different from mine. I'm learning this within black magic, all right?
See? Did you hear that, my brothers? So the guy falls into the trap, gets outraged, then he makes a video, starts talking about things. Someone comes along and says, this guy is worth suing. Bam! They take 20 from one, 30 from another, 50, 70, 80, it depends on how much the person has. Imagine, man, for example, someone like Pablo Masal. Say something derogatory, and you can easily get sued for close to $1 million. Now, who's to blame for that? Lula, right? The left-wing governments that moved in that direction led the population down this path, and are gods on Olympus for sure, who should explain what their role should be. First, keep listening to more absurdities, alright? So we can move on to this next part.
Folks, the devil blessing the Brazilian nation. Guys, whether you like it or not, the biggest image of the devil in the world has been built. And it was built by me, the Mother Queen of Darkness, also known as the Sorceress of Politicians. It was built here in Brazil, to be more exact, in the state of Ceara. And it's here, look, to bless the entire Brazilian nation that has faith, because the devil is good, the devil is wonderful and merciful. And if you have any doubts about whether this image is legal, my brother,
It's legal. So I actually want to ask you to go easy in the comments, okay? Put some emojis there to show your indignation because my brother. She said it. Politicians are involved. At Velo Diario family, this isn't an ad. If you're interested, the product link is in the description. We did it, right? And I've even made a video based on this article that's there on Velo Diario. But on Velo Diario, it's uncensored, right? We showed a soap opera from Rotten Network. I've already made this video, I repeat here, right? But the difference is that in the diary, it's uncensored, right? There's no censorship. So we can, let's say, use the right terms, okay? We did a story about the soap opera from Rotten Network, right? That from a third of the soap opera on, in the first third, she already starts to change. She already starts to centralize things. But it starts by exposing exactly that a good part of the politicians who are in power seem to be untouchable. The political bosses, as they're called among themselves, they have a pact with creatures of darkness. These people walk among them, making these pacts. Many artists too. And that's why they are literally shielded. Because believe it or not, my brothers, these forces do bring, yes, momentary victories, earthly victories. Christ himself, right? If a Christian wants to deny this, he is denying Christ himself. Because the devil made this proposal to Christ himself. He said, worship me and everything in the world which is mine will be yours. He took over, right? He's a thief. He said, everything I've taken in the world is yours if you worship me. Do you understand, my brothers? He even made this proposal to the very Son of God. The owner, he made this proposal. So yes, those riches are in his hands. And these people do very well. Not tomorrow, family. Sometime next week, I'll show you another guy like that who's also doing very well. He's married to a 19-year-old girl driving a BMW and a Land Rover, and he says, Satan gave it to me. You evangelicals out there are poor. At most, you guys have a beat-up Celta out there. And here I am, look, Land Rover, BMW, a hot 19-year-old, and you look with an older woman driving a Celta. Yeah, that's it. He's mocking. I'm going to show you this video. Hold on. First, let's finish this one. Hold on a bit. Listen to this one too.
because it's not me who blesses, it's the wind. The demons, they are winds. They're the ones who bless. It's not me. People really want to fear the macumbero. Don't fear the macumbero. You should fear those who walk with the macumbero, those who walk with the sorcerer. Because I am knowledgeable about the rituals, those who walk with me, my demons, are the ones who transform that manipulation of energies in people's lives.
What he said there is interesting, right? Winds, strong winds, have indeed always been associated with these entities. Remember that investigation I did at Don Bosco Cemetery, my brothers? It went viral back when I did it, right? That video got over 100,000 views. Later, we took it down. And when I started asking questions, for those who don't remember the episode, it happened here in my city, Don Bosco Cemetery, and there's a chapel behind the church where people go to pray. It started to catch fire, and the fire took the shape of the entity, right? And the next day I went there. I tried to go at night, but they didn't let me. So I went the next day, and when we started asking questions, I put the K2 down. It went all the way up, and strong winds started blowing, right? So clearly, I'll even put a little picture here for you to see. So guys,
this fire is at Don Bosco Cemetery. This is happening right now, you see?
a fire at Don Bosco Cemetery in the city of Caruaru in Pernambuco drew a lot of attention. Not just because the fire spread in an area where there was nothing that could have spread a fire that big. The area was made of ceramic with a smooth, very tall wall. There are no flammable materials there like synthetic flowers or anything like that. It's an altar meant for placing candles, and people go there to pray. It's located right behind a church, inside the cemetery. The fire was so big that it scared everyone who was there. And it seemed like something wanted to destroy that church, and they were using fire for that, feeding it. The entity that did this made a point of appearing in the middle of the fire, in front of dozens of witnesses. They were terrified. and some of them took pictures to prove that what they were seeing was real. That left no shadow of a doubt even for those who doubted. The spiritual world exists, and it's darker than what you see in the movies. Do you want to communicate? Come, my son, let's see. Guys, look how the wind picked up. Are you filming this? That things exist. Look, are you still around? Baby, for God's sake, don't look at that. Really? Clearly, my brothers, it's the supernatural forces at work, right? So this has always existed. Now, my point here isn't even to talk about spirituality. My point is this. All of this could have been curbed, right? It could have been controlled if the gods of Olympus hadn't made their decision. That's the big problem. That's why a strong candidate, the kind of candidate we need, has to come in and shake things up. He has to say, I'm going to review everything those guys did, that they went beyond their boundaries. A congressional inquiry into the judiciary isn't just to punish or stop those who are there. It's more to fix what's already been done. For example, I'm going to show you this article here that really exposes how necessary and important it is to have a Supreme Court that truly represents the people. This article came to me through Marcelo Romel. Big shout out to him. And he even says here, look, he says, yeah, another gem, right? Yeah, more assets built with our sweat being handed over to extort us with what we ourselves built, right? A big hug to my dear brother Marcelo Romel is already making a stellar debut here. So, see what the article says. BR 116 and BR 304 in Ceara are to be handed over to the private sector according to the federal government. These will be the first highway concessions in the state. What does that mean? Supporters of handing everything over, idiots, right, will say, see if the United States does that. See if the great nations do that. They don't. And the ones that started doing it are getting poorer, right? Because you don't get rid of essential services and essential resources, right? You manage them well and make money from them. That's it. But let's go. Those who are already alienated say, it's good. It's good because the roads will be taken care of now. Now all these potholes will finally be gone. But my brother, the taxes the government collects to build these roads come from our pockets. So just look at that. Why is it so important to have a Supreme Court that truly represents the people, to prevent the government itself from committing crimes? That's exactly the function of a Supreme Court, to prevent the other branches of government, sometimes even out of ignorance, from creating something that goes against the law. That goes against the Constitution. They are, or at least they should be, right? When things aren't corrupted, they are the guardians of the Constitution. So, a law like this, let's privatize, can't be passed. Why? Because there's a tax for that. I'm speaking legally, okay? There's a tax called IPVA that you pay, supposedly for road maintenance, although there's a catch. The tax is charged for road maintenance, right? Okay, understood, but the money doesn't necessarily have to be spent on the roads. It can be diverted to other areas that are in need. But it is charged to you, to me, to everyone for road maintenance. Understood? Okay. These roads were also built with the people's money. No company gave any money. It was through the people's hard work paying taxes that these roads were built. Okay? Okay? So it belongs to the people. If it was sold, the money would have to be deposited into the people's account, even if it's just $1 for each citizen. But if they're going to sell that stretch that was built with our money, then the government, look folks, there should be a transfer to every Brazilian's account in the amount of 700 reais, 2,000 reais, 100,000 reais, depending on the value it's sold for. You have to see how many inhabitants there are and deposit that amount for each of them. Even if it's just $1, I repeat, the government can't keep that money because it has already received that money in taxes. Right? It belongs to the people. So it's up to the Supreme Court to say this. Look, if you want to sell, you'll have to give the money to the people because it was the people who built it and it's theirs. They have to look at the legality of the action, the law, the proposal. Another thing the Supreme Court should look at is exactly the continued collection of IPVA. If the roads are being privatized and now belong to private companies, and to go through that section you have to pay, then the IPVA has to be abolished. So, the government isn't obligated. I'm talking about a legal matter. The government is not obligated to manage this forever. Another administration with a different idea could come in. I don't want this anymore, but I'm going to do things the way they have to be done. I'm going to sell all the roads. Now, when you drive, you'll have to pay. But there won't be any more vehicle tax. And there won't be this tax collection anymore. Taxes will decrease in all areas, since a good part will go to the construction of these roads. Since we won't be building anymore, it's all in the hands of the private sector, so taxes will generally go down as well. If there was such a proposal, that would be something, right? Although I also consider, legally speaking, it's unconstitutional, because in this case, to pass through, in other words, to come and go, you have to pay. And the Constitution, right, in its fundamental laws, those that can't be changed, says that Brazilians are free to come and go. So, once again, I think, right, that this thing in no way could be legalized, even if, the government tried to disguise it. In other words, the money they received would go to each of us and they would stop charging the vehicle tax. Even so, it couldn't be done because you are free to come and go, regardless of whether you have money in your pocket, regardless of whether you pay the toll or not. So they could even create a workaround, like, let's say, speaking legally, no, but okay, if you don't have the money, you go through, then you owe it. Your CPF could be flagged, restricted, then they could do that, right? I think that was the only legal way to allow it. But then the gods of Olympus, as we can see, right, are just having their coffee, right? With the mollusk. Let me find the article. Look. Lula's going to have coffee with Alexandra de Moraes. Look. Let me see if I can find it. Here, it's here. Look. This happened 10 hours ago. I just read the article. Lula invites Moraes for coffee after an event in Brasilia. So this camaraderie, right, that you didn't see in other governments already shows how these powers are aligned and how the gods of Olympus have abandoned their role. They've become corrupted family. Their role was simply to clash with each other. Guardians of the Constitution. Anything. Whether from the left, right, center, anyone who made this proposal that clashes with the laws that already exist, it can't be done, but they simply ignore it. So it got to the point, and see how things are connected, it got to the point of someone spreading doctrines that, as I already said, even if the person, the witch, the warlock, isn't preaching in that way, is speaking in a distorted, sugar-coated way. When the person becomes a devotee and starts doing research, looking for those books written in blood with human leather, and those books do exist, she will discover the truth about these entities, and since she is a devotee and has been indoctrinated into this, she will make whatever sacrifice is necessary. Besides the cases of possession, which have been increasing more and more, and today the media just calls it a breakdown. Some people endure it, like a guy I saw, folks, who took 8 shots to the chest and still went after the police. You can't show it because it's graphic, the guy bleeding, but man, what's happening is surreal, right? The guy was possessed. If you ask a cop off the record, he'll admit it's real. They've seen it often. So my brothers, all this is because the gods of Olympus have strayed from their true purpose. They literally became legislators, they bang the gavel and even go against the very constitution that they should be guarding. It's sad. So you have right, and I repeat here, the people who, even you, my brother, sometimes go argue with someone like that. Then you start sending messages and all, and the guy is just saving everything, because he knows the law is on his side. Why do women go after men these days? You didn't see that. If you look at the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you didn't see women going after men. On the contrary. But now they do. Why? Because if you push, it's already considered assault. If you raise your voice, it's already considered assault. They put it above. So debates where people speak the truth can no longer be held in this country. You have to leave. That's it, brothers. It's come to this. I'll stop here. I thank each one of you. Leave a big like. If you're interested in the book, I'll leave the link in the description. It's really worth it. All right, my brothers? And that's it. God be with you. Take care. And we're in this together. Boom.